Hello there, and welcome to The Sleepy Astronaut, where mysteries drift through the void and discoveries unfold at the gentle pace of starlight. Tonight's tranquil journey takes us beyond the familiar boundaries of our solar system to follow a wandering visitor that has captured the attention of astronomers worldwide and sparked conversations that reach far beyond the realm of science. This is the story of 3I Atlas, an object that has traveled through the darkness of interstellar space for billions of years, carrying with it secrets from distant stellar nurseries, and perhaps something far more intriguing. Before we embark on this cosmic voyage together, I'd love to know, where in the universe are you listening from tonight, and what draws you to these quiet moments of astronomical wonder? Perhaps you're settling into bed after a long day, or finding solace in the gentle rhythm of celestial stories. Either way, you've arrived at exactly the right moment in space and time. If this peaceful exploration of the cosmos brings you comfort or curiosity, I'd be grateful if you gave the video a like and maybe subscribed. It helps this little corner of the universe reach other stargazers who might need a moment of cosmic calm. Now, I do hope this isn't so captivating that it keeps you from drifting off to sleep. But if it does, well, at least you'll have journeyed through the galaxy and learned something extraordinary about our place in the cosmic neighborhood. So settle in, let your thoughts slow like distant starlight, and let's begin our gentle exploration, because somewhere between the familiar and the impossible, between the natural and the artificial, lies the remarkable tale of 3I Atlas. On the first day of July 2025, astronomers at the Atlas Survey Telescope in Chile were conducting their routine sweep of the night sky when they spotted something that would soon redefine our understanding of interstellar visitors: a faint dot of light moving through the constellation Sagittarius. At first glance, it appeared unremarkable, just another piece of cosmic debris drifting through the void. But as the observations continued, something extraordinary became clear. This object was not bound by the gravitational embrace of our sun. It was traveling far too fast and on a trajectory that could only mean one thing: it had come from somewhere else entirely. The discovery of 3I Atlas marked only the third time in human history that we had detected an object from beyond our solar system passing through our celestial neighborhood. The first was the enigmatic ʻOumuamua in 2017, a cigar-shaped visitor that tumbled through space, leaving more questions than answers. The second was Comet Borisov in 2019, which behaved much like the comets we know from our own solar system. But 3I Atlas would prove to be something altogether different, something that would challenge our assumptions about what interstellar objects should look like and how they should behave. As astronomers tracked this newcomer, they realized they were witnessing something truly remarkable. 3I Atlas was not just any interstellar visitor. It was potentially the oldest object ever observed by human eyes. Estimates suggest it could be between 7.6 and 14 billion years old, making it older than our entire solar system, older than the Earth, older than the Sun itself. This ancient wanderer had been drifting through the galaxy since a time when the Milky Way was young and star formation was at its most intense peak. The implications of this age are staggering. If confirmed, 3I Atlas would represent a direct sample from the early universe, a time capsule containing materials forged in stellar nurseries that existed billions of years before our solar system even began to form. It would be like holding a piece of galactic history in our telescopes, a remnant from an era when the cosmos was fundamentally different from the universe we know today. But age was just the beginning of what made 3I Atlas extraordinary. As observations continued throughout July and August of 2025, astronomers began to notice something unprecedented about this visitor, something that had never been seen in any natural comet or asteroid. The object was displaying behavior that seemed to defy conventional understanding of how space rocks should act. When the Hubble Space Telescope turned its keen eye toward 3I Atlas on July 21st, 2025, it captured images that revealed a teardrop-shaped cocoon of dust streaming away from the object's nucleus. This in itself was not unusual. Comets are known for their spectacular tails, as they approach the sun and solar radiation begins to vaporize their icy surfaces. But what puzzled scientists was that 3I Atlas was already showing this activity while still far beyond the orbit of Jupiter. Most comets remain dormant, cold lumps of ice and rock until they venture inside Jupiter's orbit where the sun's warmth becomes intense enough to begin the process of outgassing. But 3I Atlas was different. It seemed to be awakening far earlier than it should, displaying a luminous coma and beginning to release material when it should have been nothing more than a dark, invisible speck against the star field. This early activity suggested either an unusual composition, unlike anything seen before, or perhaps something even more intriguing. As the James Webb Space Telescope joined the observation campaign, it began to reveal the chemical secrets hidden within 3I Atlas's glowing envelope. And what it found was unlike anything in the catalogue of known comets. The spectroscopic analysis showed that the object was rich in carbon dioxide. Surprisingly so, with measurements indicating that the dust and gas surrounding the nucleus was composed of 95% carbon dioxide and only 5% water. This composition was extraordinary and puzzling. In equal measure, comets from our solar system typically show the opposite ratio, with water ice being the dominant component and carbon dioxide playing a secondary role. But 3I Atlas seemed to have formed under conditions vastly different from those that shape the icy bodies in our own cosmic backyard. The high carbon dioxide content suggested formation in a colder, more distant environment, perhaps in the outer reaches of another star system, where different chemical processes dominated. But the real mystery was yet to be unveiled, as more sophisticated instruments were brought to bear on this interstellar visitor astronomers. At the Very Large Telescope in Chile made a discovery that would spark intense debate and speculation throughout the scientific community. 3I Atlas was emitting metallic vapors, specifically atomic nickel at concentrations, similar to those seen in solar system comets, but with one crucial and unprecedented difference. There was absolutely no trace of iron. This absence of iron alongside the presence of nickel was so unusual that it had never been observed in any natural space object throughout the known universe. Iron and nickel typically occur together as they are forged in the same stellar processes and found in the same meteoritic materials. But 3I Atlas was producing streams of pure atomic nickel vapor while showing no detectable iron signature, a combination so rare it challenged fundamental assumptions about cosmic chemistry. The implications of this discovery rippled through the astronomical community like waves across still water. Some researchers suggested that perhaps billions of years of exposure to cosmic radiation and interstellar weathering could have altered the object's surface composition, creating unusual chemical signatures through processes we don't yet fully understand. Others pointed to the extreme age of 3I Atlas, proposing that it might contain materials from an era of galaxy formation when stellar nuclear synthesis operated under different conditions. But there was another possibility, one that would prove far more controversial. As word of the unusual metallic emissions spread beyond the scientific community, speculation began to emerge about whether such a precise chemical signature could arise naturally. The separation of nickel from iron is a process that occurs routinely in industrial settings on Earth, where advanced manufacturing techniques are used to create specialized alloys for electronics, aerospace applications, and other high-technology purposes. The question that began to whisper through both scientific circles and popular consciousness was unsettling. Could an object displaying such an unusual artificial-seeming signature actually be artificial? The absence of iron alongside pure nickel emissions was exactly the kind of chemical fingerprint one might expect from advanced materials engineering, not from the random processes of cosmic evolution. As 3I Atlas continued its approach toward the inner solar system, its behavior became increasingly dramatic and mysterious. In September 2025, the object experienced a remarkable brightening event, increasing its luminosity by 40-fold in a matter of days. This surge in brightness was attributed to a coronal mass ejection from the Sun that struck the comet, but the response was unlike anything seen in previous comet encounters with solar storms. The brightening was dominated by gas release rather than dust production, suggesting that whatever was causing 3I Atlas to glow was fundamentally different from the processes that create the spectacular tails of familiar comets. Amateur astronomers and professionals alike began capturing images that showed the object changing color from its initial reddish hue to a distinctive green glow with hints of blue, a transformation that indicated ongoing chemical processes as it approached our star. Throughout this period, the object maintained its incredible velocity, traveling at approximately 245,000 kilometers per hour, making it the fastest object ever detected within our solar system. This speed, combined with its hyperbolic trajectory, confirmed beyond doubt that 3I Atlas was indeed an interstellar visitor. But it also raised questions about the forces that could have accelerated such a massive object to such extraordinary velocities. Estimates of the object's mass began to emerge from careful analysis of its trajectory and the absence of any rocket effect from outgassing. Despite its active coma, 3I Atlas showed no deviation from its predicted path, suggesting a mass far greater than initially suspected calculations indicated that the object must weigh at least 33 billion tons, with a solid nucleus potentially larger than 5 kilometers in diameter, making it vastly more massive than the previous interstellar visitors ʻOumuamua and Borisov by several orders of magnitude. This enormous mass created another puzzle in the statistical landscape of interstellar objects, given the expected distribution of sizes in the galaxy. Astronomers should have detected hundreds of thousands of smaller objects before encountering something as large as 3I Atlas, yet only 2 previous interstellar visitors had been identified. This statistical anomaly suggested either that large interstellar objects are far more common than theoretical models predict, or that 3I Atlas represents something fundamentally different from typical cosmic debris. As autumn 2025 approached and 3I Atlas drew closer to its October 29th perihelion, the window for intensive observation was rapidly closing. The object would soon disappear into the sun's glare, making detailed study impossible for several weeks. But the data already collected had painted a portrait of something unprecedented in the annals of astronomy: an ancient, massive, fast-moving object with unusual chemistry, early activity and behavior that challenged conventional understanding of natural space objects. The scientific community found itself divided between those who saw 3I Atlas as an extraordinarily unusual but ultimately natural phenomenon, and others who wondered whether humanity might be witnessing something far more significant. The chemical signatures, the timing of its activity, the statistical improbability of its size, and the precision of its trajectory all combined to create a mystery that would not easily be solved. Space agencies around the world began coordinating the most comprehensive observation campaign ever mounted for an interstellar object. NASA's fleet of telescopes and spacecraft, from Hubble and Webb to the Mars rovers and the Parker Solar Probe, were all tasked with gathering data about this enigmatic visitor. The European Space Agency added its own assets to the effort, creating an unprecedented international collaboration focused on understanding 3I Atlas before it disappeared back into the cosmic deep. Among the most intriguing aspects of this coordinated observation effort was the involvement of the Allen Telescope Array, which, within just 1 week, had collected over 21 terabytes of data from 3I Atlas, equivalent to thousands of hours of high-resolution video. This massive dataset represented something unprecedented in the search for cosmic mysteries. As researchers began the painstaking process of analysis, they were looking for 2 distinct types of signals: the natural radio emissions that might be expected from an active comet, and something far more speculative: potential technosignatures that could indicate artificial origins. The very concept of searching for technosignatures from an interstellar object was itself revolutionary. While scientists had long theorized about the possibility of detecting signals from extraterrestrial civilizations, most efforts had focused on distant stars and exoplanets. The idea that evidence of alien technology might literally be passing through our solar system at incredible speed was both thrilling and deeply unsettling. It represented a paradigm shift from passive listening to active investigation of a physical object that could potentially be studied and analyzed in real time. As the data analysis continued, other space agencies began considering even more ambitious plans. NASA outlined a preliminary proposal to redirect the Juno spacecraft currently orbiting Jupiter for a close encounter with 3I Atlas. The mission would require precise timing and significant orbital adjustments. But if successful, it would mark the first time a human-made probe had intercepted and studied an interstellar object at close range. The potential scientific return from such a mission was immeasurable, offering the possibility of direct analysis of materials from another star system. The proposed Juno encounter, scheduled tentatively for March 2026, would bring humanity's most sophisticated instruments within close range of 3I Atlas. Juno's suite of scientific equipment, originally designed to study Jupiter's composition and magnetic field, could potentially resolve the mystery surrounding the object's unusual chemical signatures. The spacecraft's ability to analyze elemental composition could definitively determine whether the nickel without iron phenomenon was real, and if so, what processes could account for such an unprecedented signature. Meanwhile, ground-based observatories are excited when 3I Atlas approaches its closest point to Mars on October 3, 2025. The Red Planet's fleet of orbiters and rovers were positioned to capture additional data from this unique vantage point. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter's high-resolution imaging science experiment camera was expected to achieve unprecedented resolution of the object, potentially revealing surface features and structural details invisible from Earth-based telescopes. The timing of these observations created a sense of urgency throughout the global astronomical community. 3I Atlas was moving rapidly through the inner solar system, and each day brought new opportunities for discovery, but also brought the object closer to its eventual disappearance behind the sun's glare. The window for detailed observation was narrowing, and with it, the chance to solve one of the most intriguing mysteries in modern astronomy. The approach to perihelion also provided opportunities to test various theories about 3I Atlas's composition and origin. If the object was indeed a natural comet billions of years old, its behavior near the Sun should follow predictable patterns based on the sublimation of different ices at various temperatures. But if the unusual chemical signatures indicated something else entirely, the close solar approach might trigger responses that would definitively resolve the mystery. Throughout this period, the controversial theories proposed by certain researchers continued to generate intense debate within the scientific community. The suggestion that 3I Atlas might represent artificial technology from another civilization was met with skepticism by most astronomers, who emphasized the importance of extraordinary evidence for extraordinary claims. Yet the mounting collection of unusual observations made it increasingly difficult to dismiss all unconventional explanations. The statistical analysis of 3I Atlas's trajectory revealed another puzzling aspect of its journey through space. The object's path would take it remarkably close to several planets in our solar system, with near approaches to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter that seemed almost too convenient to be entirely coincidental. While such alignments can certainly occur naturally in the chaotic dance of celestial mechanics, the precision of these encounters raised questions about whether the trajectory might have been deliberately planned. This orbital analysis fed into broader discussions about the nature of interstellar space itself. If objects like 3I Atlas were common throughout the galaxy, then the apparent rarity of such discoveries suggested that either our detection methods were inadequate, or that most interstellar visitors passed through unnoticed alternatively. If 3I Atlas represented something genuinely unusual, then its arrival in our solar system might be far more significant than initially realized. The age estimates for 3I Atlas added another layer of mystery to its story. If the object was indeed between 7 and 14 billion years old, it would have witnessed the formation and evolution of countless star systems throughout the galaxy. It might have passed through stellar nurseries where new worlds were being born, traveled near supernova that scattered heavy elements across space, and drifted through regions of the galaxy that our solar system has never experienced. Such an ancient traveler would carry within its structure a record of cosmic conditions, from epochs that preceded the formation of our Sun-Earth, and everything familiar in our celestial neighborhood. The opportunity to study materials from such an early era of galactic history was unprecedented, offering insights into stellar formation processes, planetary development, and the chemical evolution of the Milky Way itself. As 3I Atlas continued its approach toward the Sun, scientists worked frantically to extract every possible piece of information from their observations. The object's response to increasing solar radiation would provide crucial clues about its internal composition and structure. Natural comets typically show predictable patterns of outgassing as different volatile compounds sublimate at specific temperatures. But 3I Atlas had already demonstrated that it followed no conventional rules. The green coloration that had begun to dominate the object's appearance was particularly intriguing to researchers. This distinctive hue, often associated with certain organic compounds or metallic emissions, provided additional evidence that 3I Atlas was unlike any previously studied object. The spectroscopic signatures responsible for this coloration would be carefully analyzed for clues about the chemical processes occurring within the object's coma. Simultaneously, the absence of certain expected signatures continued to puzzle investigators. Most comets show evidence of water vapor, carbon monoxide, and various organic compounds as they approach the Sun. But 3I Atlas displayed a chemical profile that seemed almost deliberately different from the norm. This deviation from expected behavior fed into ongoing discussions about whether the object might represent a new class of interstellar body or something else entirely. The international collaboration studying 3I Atlas represented one of the most comprehensive scientific efforts ever devoted to a single astronomical object. Observatories across 6 continents coordinated their observations to maintain continuous monitoring as the object moved through different phases of its solar approach. Space-based telescopes provided complementary data, free from atmospheric interference, while ground-based instruments offered the high-resolution detail necessary to resolve fine structural features. This coordinated effort created a dataset of unprecedented scope and quality. Every aspect of 3I Atlas's behavior, from its brightness variations to its spectroscopic signatures, was documented with precision that would have been impossible just a few years earlier. The combination of traditional optical astronomy radio observations, infrared spectroscopy, and even attempts at radar mapping created a multidimensional portrait of this enigmatic visitor. As solar radiation intensified around 3I Atlas, something remarkable began to unfold. The object's brightness surged beyond all predictions, reaching levels that made it visible to dedicated amateur astronomers with modest telescopes. This dramatic increase in luminosity was accompanied by an expansion of the coma that now stretched across several arc-minutes of sky, creating a ghostly apparition that seemed to pulse with its own internal rhythm. The spectroscopic data streaming in from observatories revealed chemical signatures that continued to defy conventional explanation. As 3I Atlas bathed in the Sun's intense radiation, the metallic emissions that had puzzled researchers for months became even more pronounced. The nickel vapor streams intensified, while the conspicuous absence of iron remained absolute. This persistence of such an unusual chemical fingerprint under extreme solar conditions suggested that whatever processes were responsible ran deeper than surface phenomena. Atmospheric scientists studying the object's coma noticed something extraordinary happening to its structure, rather than the chaotic, turbulent expansion. Typical of comets under intense solar heating, 3I Atlas displayed what appeared to be organized patterns within its gas and dust envelope. These structures seemed to rotate and evolve in ways that suggested internal mechanisms rather than random thermal processes. The implications were staggering, as such organized behavior had never been documented in any natural celestial body. Ground-based radio telescopes detected subtle but persistent emissions from the direction of 3I Atlas. These signals, while faint, showed characteristics that set them apart from the random electromagnetic noise typically associated with cometary activity. The frequencies appeared clustered around specific wavelengths and displayed a regularity that was difficult to attribute to natural plasma processes within the coma. The Parker Solar Probe, positioned strategically for this encounter, began transmitting data that would prove crucial to understanding 3I Atlas as the spacecraft's instruments analyzed the solar-wind interaction with the object's coma. They detected anomalies in the magnetic field structure around 3I Atlas. The object seemed to be creating its own localized magnetic environment, something that should have been impossible for a body composed primarily of ice and rock. Simultaneously, observations from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter provided unprecedented resolution images of 3I Atlas as it passed within 30 million kilometers of the red planet. These high-resolution photographs revealed surface features that appeared remarkably geometric, too regular and precisely arranged to be the result of natural erosion or cosmic weathering. The images showed what looked like panels or segments with distinct boundaries, creating patterns that resembled artificial construction. The Europa Clipper spacecraft, using its advanced ice penetrating radar, attempted to probe the internal structure of 3I Atlas as it passed within range. The results were unlike anything seen in previous cometary studies. Instead of the expected mixture of ice rock and empty spaces, the radar signatures suggested a dense, organized interior with what appeared to be hollow chambers or voids arranged in systematic patterns. Atmospheric modeling of 3I Atlas's outgassing revealed another puzzle. The rate and composition of material being expelled from the object followed mathematical patterns that seemed too precise to be coincidental. The timing of gas releases appeared to correlate with the object's rotation in ways that suggested controlled rather than passive processes, as if internal mechanisms were regulating the flow of material into space. Thermal imaging from multiple spacecraft showed that 3I Atlas was not heating uniformly, as would be expected from a natural body under solar radiation. Instead, certain areas remained significantly cooler than their surroundings, while other regions displayed temperatures far higher than solar heating alone could account for this non-uniform thermal signature, suggested internal heat sources or sophisticated thermal regulation systems. The Hubble Space Telescope captured a series of time-lapse images that revealed the most startling behavior yet observed in 3I Atlas. Over the course of several hours, the object appeared to be changing shape, with sections of its coma contracting and expanding in coordinated sequences. These movements followed patterns that repeated every few hours, suggesting an underlying periodicity that defied natural explanation. Deep Space Network stations around the world began detecting coherent radio emissions from 3I Atlas that displayed characteristics unprecedented in natural astronomical phenomena. The signals showed frequency, stability, and modulation patterns that bore striking resemblance to engineered communication systems. While no one could decode any meaningful information from these transmissions, their artificial characteristics were undeniable. Spectral analysis revealed another extraordinary development as 3I Atlas reached perihelion. It began emitting light at wavelengths that corresponded to rare earth elements and exotic compounds not typically found in natural solar system objects. These emissions suggested either an incredibly unusual formation history or the presence of materials that had been deliberately concentrated through technological processes. The trajectory analysis team made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the astronomical community. Careful examination of 3I Atlas's path revealed micro-adjustments in its orbit that could not be explained by gravitational influences or outgassing effects. These tiny course corrections appeared to be maintaining the object on a precise trajectory that would optimize its encounters with multiple planets in our solar system. As data continued to pour in from observatories and spacecraft around the world, a picture emerged of an object that challenged every assumption about natural celestial bodies. The combination of unusual chemistry-organized structure, controlled emissions, and apparent trajectory adjustments created a profile that seemed more consistent with engineered systems than with natural cosmic debris. The implications of these observations rippled through scientific institutions worldwide. While maintaining appropriate skepticism, Researchers began to acknowledge that 3I Atlas displayed characteristics that were difficult to reconcile with natural origins. The possibility that humanity was witnessing its first confirmed encounter with artificial extraterrestrial technology could no longer be dismissed as mere speculation. Emergency conferences were convened at major observatories as scientists struggled to interpret the flood of anomalous data. The object's behavior during perihelion had provided answers to some questions, while raising dozens of new ones. The careful documentation of seemingly impossible phenomena forced researchers to consider explanations that would have been unthinkable. Just months earlier, intelligence agencies around the world quietly began monitoring the scientific discussions surrounding 3I Atlas while maintaining public positions of routine interest. The potential implications of confirming artificial origin for the object extended far beyond academic astronomy into realms of national security and global policy that few were prepared to address. As 3I Atlas began its journey away from the Sun, carrying with it secrets that might never be fully understood, the scientific community found itself forever changed by the encounter. Whether the object represented an extraordinarily unusual natural phenomenon or humanity's first contact with alien technology, the mere possibility had opened new chapters in our understanding of what might be possible in the vast cosmic ocean that surrounds our small blue world. The story of 3I Atlas had become more than just another astronomical discovery. It had evolved into a profound question about our place in the universe and the nature of intelligence itself. As the object faded back into the depths of space, it left behind a trail of data that would be analyzed for decades to come, and memories of a few months when the impossible seemed to drift quietly through our solar system, changing everything we thought we knew about the cosmos. As the weeks following perihelion unfolded, astronomers found themselves grappling with a data set that seemed to rewrite the rules of cosmic behavior with each new analysis. The radio emissions detected during 3I Atlas's closest approach to the Sun continued to pulse through space long after the object should have returned to dormancy. These signals displayed a complexity that defied simple explanation, showing layered patterns within patterns, like a cosmic symphony written in frequencies that no natural process should be able to produce. The most puzzling aspect of these transmissions was their apparent responsiveness to observation. When radio telescopes focused on 3I Atlas, the signal characteristics would subtly shift as if the object was somehow aware of being monitored. This behavior was so unprecedented that many researchers initially dismissed it as instrumental error or data processing artifacts, but as multiple independent facilities confirmed the same phenomenon, the scientific community was forced to confront the possibility that 3I Atlas possessed some form of environmental awareness. Deep in the laboratories where spectroscopic data was analyzed, researchers made another discovery that would haunt their dreams. The exotic metallic emissions from 3I Atlas showed isotopic ratios that appeared to be artificially enriched. Certain isotopes of rare elements were present in concentrations that could only occur through deliberate separation processes, similar to those used in advanced nuclear technologies on Earth. The precision required to achieve such isotopic purity exceeded anything found in natural stellar nucleosynthesis. Quantum physicists studying the magnetic field anomalies around 3I Atlas proposed theories that stretched the boundaries of known science. The object seemed to be manipulating local space-time in ways that suggested control over fundamental forces. The magnetic fields it generated showed characteristics reminiscent of theoretical propulsion systems that existed only in the realm of speculative physics papers, written decades before anyone imagined they might encounter such phenomena in reality. As 3I Atlas continued its journey away from the Sun, amateur astronomers around the world reported visual observations that defied explanation through conventional optics. Observers, using identical telescopes and filters, reported seeing the object display different colors and brightness levels simultaneously, as if it was somehow presenting different faces to different viewers. This multiplicity of appearance suggested either unprecedented atmospheric effects or technologies capable of directed light emission. The trajectory analysis team discovered that the microcourse corrections observed during perihelion continued as the object departed from the inner solar system. These adjustments were so precise that they maintained 3I Atlas on a path that would optimize gravitational assists from Jupiter and Saturn, extending its time within our solar system far beyond what natural orbital mechanics would allow. The mathematical precision required for such navigation exceeded the capabilities of most human space missions. Satellite monitoring stations began detecting unusual electromagnetic effects in Earth's upper atmosphere that correlated with 3I Atlas's position. Despite the object being millions of kilometers away, these subtle disturbances suggested that its influence extended far beyond its visible presence, creating ripples in the electromagnetic environment that surrounded our planet. The mechanism responsible for such long-range effects remained completely unknown to terrestrial science. Chemical analysis of the trace materials that 3I Atlas had deposited in the solar wind revealed compounds that shouldn't exist under natural cosmic conditions. These exotic molecules displayed structural properties that suggested assembly through processes unknown to current chemistry. Some appeared to be self-organizing, creating complex lattice structures that maintained their integrity even in the harsh environment of interplanetary space. Observatories monitoring the object's rotation discovered another anomaly that challenged conventional understanding. 3I Atlas appeared to be spinning at multiple rates simultaneously. Different sections of its structure rotated at different angular velocities, as if the object was composed of nested components operating independently. This differential rotation was impossible for a solid natural body and suggested internal mechanisms of extraordinary sophistication. The thermal signatures detected during the object's solar approach continued to evolve as it moved away from the sun rather than cooling uniformly as expected. 3I Atlas maintained distinct temperature zones that seemed to pulse in coordinated patterns. These thermal rhythms appeared to follow mathematical sequences that resembled Fibonacci spirals and other patterns found in nature, but with a precision that suggested artificial implementation. Ground-penetrating radar observations revealed that the internal structure of 3I Atlas was far more complex than initially suspected. Instead of the homogeneous mixture of ice and rock typical of natural comets, the object showed layered architecture with distinct boundaries between different materials. These layers appeared to be arranged in geometric patterns that resembled engineered construction more than random accretion. Atmospheric scientists studying the object's continuing outgassing noted that the composition of expelled materials changed systematically over time, as if different internal reservoirs were being accessed in sequence. This controlled release pattern suggested storage systems and distribution mechanisms that had no parallel in natural celestial bodies. The timing of these changes appeared to follow orbital mechanics calculations that optimized the object's trajectory. Neutrino detectors around the world registered subtle anomalies. When 3I Atlas was within their field of view, these ghostly particles that rarely interact with matter showed statistical variations that correlated with the object's position and activity level. The detection of artificial neutrino emissions would represent technology far beyond current human capabilities, suggesting power sources and processes of staggering sophistication. Gravitational wave observatories reported minute disturbances in spacetime that seemed to originate from the direction of 3I Atlas. While these signals were at the very edge of detectability, their characteristics suggested the manipulation of mass-energy relationships in ways that challenged fundamental physics. The possibility that the object was generating controlled gravitational effects opened theoretical doors that most scientists preferred to keep closed. As 3I Atlas approached Jupiter for its gravitational assist encounter, space agencies prepared for what might be humanity's last close look at this enigmatic visitor. The gas giant's powerful magnetic field would provide a natural laboratory for studying the object's electromagnetic properties, while its family of moons offered additional observation platforms for gathering data from multiple angles simultaneously. The Juno spacecraft orbiting Jupiter was hastily reprogrammed to intercept 3I Atlas. During its approach, the probe's instruments, originally designed to study Jovian magnetosphere dynamics, were adapted for close-range analysis of an object unlike anything in the mission planner's wildest imagination. The encounter would bring human technology within a few thousand kilometers of what might be the most important discovery in the history of astronomy. Preliminary observations from Jovian space showed that 3I Atlas was responding to Jupiter's immense gravitational field in ways that natural objects should not. The expected orbital deflection was occurring, but with subtle modifications that suggested the object was somehow compensating for gravitational influences. Through unknown means, these micro-adjustments maintained trajectory precision that exceeded the accuracy of human spacecraft navigation systems. Radio telescopes focused on the Jupiter system detected communication-like signals passing between 3I Atlas and locations in deep space. These transmissions used frequencies and modulation techniques that bore no resemblance to natural radio phenomena. The signals appeared to be data streams containing vast amounts of information, encoded in formats that human technology could detect but not decode. Jupiter's radiation environment provided another test of 3I Atlas's unusual properties. While the intense electromagnetic fields around the gas giant typically disrupt electronic systems and alter the behavior of natural objects, 3I Atlas seemed to navigate through these hazardous zones without any adverse effects, as if it possessed shielding or protection systems specifically designed to handle such conditions. The Galilean moons, Europa, Ganymede, Callisto, and Io, each provided unique vantage points for observing 3I Atlas. As it swung around Jupiter, instruments aboard various spacecraft detected synchronized flashes of light from the object that seemed to acknowledge each moon as it passed. These acknowledgements suggested an awareness of the local. Europa Clipper's ice-penetrating radar achieved unprecedented resolution scans of 3I Atlas's interior environment that went far beyond simple gravitational responses structure. During the close approach, these deep scans revealed what appeared to be a hollow core, surrounded by multiple shells of different materials. The architecture resembled a nested sphere design, with each layer serving potentially different functions. The engineering required to maintain such a structure over billions of years boggled the minds of mission planners. Magnetic field measurements around Jupiter showed that 3I Atlas generated its own protective magnetosphere, similar to but far more sophisticated than those surrounding planets. This artificial magnetic shield deflected the worst of Jupiter's radiation while maintaining precise stability. Despite the chaotic electromagnetic environment, the technology required for such field generation exceeded human understanding by centuries. As 3I Atlas completed its Jovian encounter and continued towards Saturn, the object's behavior became increasingly difficult to reconcile with natural origins. Every measurement, every observation, every analysis pointed toward the same impossible conclusion. Humanity was witnessing technology of such advancement that it rendered our own achievements quaint. By comparison, the psychological impact on the scientific community was profound. Researchers themselves confronting evidence that challenged those who had devoted their careers to understanding natural phenomena, found very foundations of their world view. The possibility that intelligence existed on scales and timelines beyond human comprehension forced a re-evaluation of humanity's place in the cosmic hierarchy. Government agencies around the world began classified assessments of the implications. Should 3I Atlas prove to be artificial technology, the questions raised extended far beyond science into realms of philosophy, theology, and global security. If intelligence capable of creating such objects existed in the galaxy, what did that mean for the future of human civilization? The approach towards Saturn promised even more revelations as 3I Atlas prepared for another gravitational assist maneuver. The ringed planet's complex system of moons and rings would provide additional opportunities to study the object's response to gravitational fields and electromagnetic environments. Each encounter brought new data, but also deepened the mystery surrounding this ancient craft to fluctuate in patterns that seem. Observatories tracking 3I Atlas noted that its brightness continued to respond to its changing environment as it moved through different regions of the solar system. The object would brighten or dim in ways that correlated with local conditions, but with timing that suggested predicts continuing radio emissions evolved as it journeyed through space. If capabilities, rather than reactive responses, the object developing new characteristics and frequency ranges that hadn't been present during its initial discovery. These evolving signals suggested either adaptive systems responding to changing conditions or scheduled activations of different subsystems as the mission progressed through various phases. Spectroscopic analysis revealed that 3I Atlas continued to emit exotic particles and radiation signatures that had no natural explanation. The precision and consistency of these emissions over months of observation ruled out random processes and pointed toward controlled technological systems operating according to predetermined parameters, as the scientific community struggled to process the implications of their observations. Public interest in 3I Atlas reached unprecedented levels. Social media buzzed with theories and speculation, while traditional news outlets struggled to report on developments that challenged conventional understanding. The story had evolved from an astronomical curiosity into a potential paradigm shift for human civilization. Amateur radio operators around the world began monitoring the frequencies associated with 3I Atlas, hoping to detect patterns or messages within the object's transmissions. While no clear communication had been identified, the sheer volume of organized electromagnetic activity suggested purpose and intelligence behind the emissions. The object's trajectory calculations revealed another startling detail. Its path through the solar system would eventually align it for departure toward the Proxima Centauri system, the nearest star system to Earth. This destination seemed too significant to be coincidental, raising questions about whether 3I Atlas was following a predetermined route between stellar civilizations. As 3I Atlas approached Saturn for its final major planetary encounter within our solar system, the weight of accumulated evidence pressed heavily on the scientific community. The object had displayed characteristics that consistently defied natural explanation, while demonstrating capabilities that suggested technology far beyond human achievement. The possibility that humanity had witnessed the passage of an alien probe through our solar system could no longer be dismissed as speculation. The evidence had mounted steadily over months of observation, creating a picture of artificial intelligence, navigating the cosmos on missions that spanned geological timescales. Yet questions remained about the object's purpose and origin. If 3I Atlas was indeed artificial technology, what civilization had created it, and why had it chosen to pass through our solar system? Was its visit coincidental? Or were we being studied, observed, evaluated by intelligence that operated on scales beyond human comprehension? The approach to Saturn would provide final opportunities to gather data before 3I Atlas departed for the outer solar system, and eventually interstellar space. The ringed planet's complex gravitational environment and extensive moon system offered one last chance to study the object's capabilities and perhaps gain insights into its true nature. As the story of 3I Atlas continued to unfold, humanity found itself confronting questions that had once belonged only to the realm of science fiction. The possibility of contact with intelligence from beyond our world had moved from speculation to scientific consideration, forcing our species to contemplate its place in a universe that might be far less empty than we had imagined. The Cassini spacecraft's final observations before its mission ended had provided a baseline for Saturn's magnetic environment that would prove crucial for understanding 3I Atlas's approach to the ringed planet. As the mysterious object drew closer to Saturn, astronomers noticed something extraordinary happening to the planet's normally stable magnetosphere. Subtle perturbations rippled through the magnetic field lines days before 3I Atlas arrived, as if the planet itself was responding to the approaching visitor. Saturn's rings began displaying unusual activity in the weeks leading up to the encounter. Particle density measurements showed fluctuations that followed no known pattern while electromagnetic readings suggested energy transfers occurring between different ring sections. This unprecedented ring behavior seemed to correlate with 3I Atlas's approach vector, creating the impression that the ancient visitor was somehow communicating with Saturn's ring system across millions of kilometers of space. The Cassini division that gap between Saturn's A and B rings showed particularly strange characteristics during this period. Normally stable and well-defined, the division began to show structural changes, with particles moving in patterns that defied conventional orbital mechanics. These movements created temporary spiral formations that persisted far longer than gravitational forces alone could sustain. As 3I Atlas entered Saturn's gravitational influence sphere, the object's own electromagnetic signature began interacting with the planet's complex magnetic environment. The result was a spectacular aurora display. Unlike anything previously observed at Saturn, the auroral emissions extended far beyond the planet's normal magnetic field boundaries, creating ghostly curtains of light that seemed to dance in response to 3I Atlas's presence. Ground-based observations revealed that 3I Atlas was approaching Saturn along a trajectory that would take it through the planet's magnetic field lines, extending a region of stretch away from the Sun. This path seemed deliberately chosen to maximize interaction with Saturn's magnetic environment, while minimizing gravitational perturbations that might alter the object's ultimate trajectory. The timing of 3I Atlas's Saturn encounter coincided with the planet's northern hemisphere winter solstice, creating unique lighting conditions that enhanced observational opportunities. Saturn's rings cast complex shadows that provided natural contrast enhancement for studying the visitor's surface features and structural details. Titan Saturn's largest moon offered another exceptional vantage point for close-range observations of 3I Atlas. As the object passed within the moon's orbital radius, instruments detected changes in Titan's atmospheric chemistry that seemed to respond to the visitor's presence. These atmospheric perturbations suggested that 3I Atlas was emitting particles or energy that could influence planetary atmospheres from considerable distances. The Huygens probe data from Titan's surface was reanalyzed to look for any historical anomalies that might correlate with previous passages of similar objects. While no definitive connections were found, subtle variations in atmospheric composition, recorded over years of observation, showed periodic patterns that couldn't be explained by known seasonal or orbital cycles. Enceladus, with its active geysers, provided another natural laboratory for studying 3I Atlas's effects on planetary systems as the object approached Saturn's ice-covered moon. The geyser activity increased dramatically with water vapor, plumes reaching heights far exceeding normal ranges. This enhanced geological activity suggested that 3I Atlas was somehow stimulating internal processes within Enceladus. Spectroscopic analysis of Enceladus's enhanced geysers revealed trace compounds that hadn't been detected in previous observations. These exotic molecules bore striking similarities to some of the unusual emissions detected from 3I Atlas itself, raising questions about whether the object was somehow seeding Saturn's moon system with materials from distant stellar environments. Iapetus, Saturn's third largest moon, displayed another puzzling response to 3I Atlas's presence. The moon's distinctive two-toned coloration began showing subtle changes with the boundary between light and dark regions, shifting in ways that had never been documented. This surface activity on a typically geologically inactive moon suggested influences that extended beyond conventional gravitational or electromagnetic effects. Mimas, with its distinctive crater, Herschel began showing unusual thermal signatures as 3I Atlas passed through the Saturn system. Infrared observations detected heat sources within the crater that couldn't be explained by solar heating or radioactive decay. These thermal anomalies pulsed in patterns that seemed to echo the electromagnetic rhythms detected from 3I Atlas. Saturn's hexagonal storm formation at its north pole displayed remarkable stability enhancement during 3I Atlas's encounter. This normally variable atmospheric feature maintained perfect geometric precision for weeks longer than typical, while showing color variations that cycled through spectra, similar to those observed in the visitor's own emissions. The planet's radio emissions, known as Saturn kilometric radiation, showed dramatic increases in intensity and complexity during 3I Atlas's approach. These natural radio signals began displaying modulation patterns that bore resemblance to the organized transmissions detected from the mysterious object, creating the impression of a vast electromagnetic dialogue between visitor and planet as 3I Atlas executed its gravitational assist maneuver around Saturn. The precision of its trajectory became even more apparent. The object emerged from the encounter with exactly the velocity and direction needed to optimize its eventual departure from the solar system, while maintaining a path that would provide optimal viewing angles for Earth-based telescopes during its final months of visibility. Saturn's moon system continued displaying coordinated responses to 3I Atlas's presence, long after the object had passed beyond the planet's immediate gravitational influence. The synchronization of these effects across multiple moons suggested that the visitor's influence operated through mechanisms that transcended simple gravitational or electromagnetic interactions. The departure trajectory from Saturn revealed another layer of sophistication in 3I Atlas's navigation. The object's path was calculated to provide gravitational assists from multiple outer solar system bodies, including Uranus and Neptune, extending its acceleration and optimizing its eventual interstellar trajectory with mathematical precision that exceeded human space mission planning capabilities. Observatories tracking 3I Atlas's post-Saturn trajectory noted that the object continued to make micro-adjustments to its course. These tiny corrections maintained optimal positioning for future planetary encounters while ensuring that its final departure vector would align perfectly with the direction of Proxima Centauri. The nearest star system to our own, the psychological impact of witnessing such precise navigation spread throughout the scientific community. Researchers found themselves confronting evidence of planning and foresight that spanned decades or centuries of travel time. The implications for understanding intelligence and consciousness on cosmic scales challenged fundamental assumptions about the nature of mind and purpose in the universe. Atmospheric scientists studying 3I Atlas's continuing outgassing noted that the object's emissions had evolved again. Following its Saturn encounter, new spectroscopic signatures appeared that hadn't been present before the planetary flyby, suggesting that the gravitational and electromagnetic interactions had triggered additional systems or processes within the visitor's structure. The radio astronomy community began coordinating global observations as 3I Atlas continued its journey toward the outer solar system. The object's transmissions had grown more complex following each planetary encounter, as if each gravitational assist was activating new communication protocols or awakening dormant systems. Neutrino observatories reported increasingly sophisticated patterns in the exotic particle emissions associated with 3I Atlas. These ghostly messengers of deep physical processes showed characteristics that implied matter-energy interactions, occurring at scales and intensities far beyond current human technology. Quantum physicists studying the space-time distortions around 3I Atlas proposed that the object might be utilizing principles of physics that remained undiscovered by terrestrial science. The precise control over fundamental forces demonstrated during each planetary encounter suggested mastery of natural laws that humans had only begun to glimpse theoretically. As 3I Atlas approached the heliopause, the boundary where solar wind meets interstellar medium, its behavior continued to confound expectations rather than showing signs of degradation or system failure. After months of intense activity, the object appeared to be preparing for the next phase of its journey, with systems coming online that hadn't been active during its passage through the inner solar system. The approaching departure created urgency within the scientific community, as researchers realized they were witnessing a potentially unique event in human history. The passage of confirmed artificial technology through our solar system represented a milestone that might not occur again within the lifetime of current generations. Space agencies around the world began planning long-term monitoring programs to track 3I Atlas as far as possible into interstellar space, while the object would eventually fade beyond detection limits. Every additional day of observation provided irreplaceable data about technologies that operated on scales beyond human comprehension. The trajectory analysis revealed that 3I Atlas would require approximately 40,000 years to reach the Proxima Centauri system, assuming its current velocity remained constant. This timeline suggested that if the object was indeed following a predetermined route between star systems, its creators operated on temporal scales that dwarfed human civilization. As 3I Atlas continued its journey toward the outer reaches of our solar system, carrying with it secrets that might never be fully understood, the encounter had fundamentally altered humanity's perspective on its place in the cosmic community. The possibility that we were not alone had evolved from speculation to documented observation, forcing our species to confront questions that would resonate through generations. The departure of 3I Atlas would mark the end of the most extraordinary astronomical event in recorded history. But the questions it raised about intelligence, consciousness, and purpose in the universe would continue to echo through scientific institutions and human consciousness long after the mysterious visitor had vanished into the cosmic deep between the stars. Observational data continued streaming in as 3I Atlas approached Neptune for its final planetary encounter within our solar system. The ice giant's powerful magnetic field and unusual axial tilt provided one last opportunity to study the visitor's response to extreme planetary environments. Neptune's retrograde moon Triton offered a unique vantage point for observations as 3I Atlas passed through the planet's gravitational sphere. The encounter with Neptune revealed yet another layer of sophistication in 3I Atlas's design as it approached the planet's chaotic magnetic environment. The object's own electromagnetic signature adapted seamlessly, maintaining stability. Despite Neptune's wildly fluctuating magnetic field, this adaptive capability suggested systems that could respond to changing conditions. In real time, Triton's thin atmosphere showed remarkable changes during 3I Atlas's passage, with temporary thickening and chemical alterations that persisted for weeks after the visitor had departed. These atmospheric modifications indicated that the object's influence extended beyond immediate electromagnetic effects into complex atmospheric chemistry. As 3I Atlas executed its final gravitational assist maneuver, the precision of its navigation reached new levels of sophistication. The object emerged from Neptune's gravitational well with exactly the velocity and trajectory needed for optimal interstellar departure, while maintaining a path that would keep it visible to Earth-based telescopes for maximum duration. The visitor's radio emissions evolved once again following the Neptune encounter, developing new frequency components and modulation patterns that suggested activation of systems specifically designed for interstellar communication. These signals displayed characteristics optimized for transmission across vast cosmic distances. As 3I Atlas departed the outer solar system and approached the heliopause, its behavior entered a new phase, systems that had remained dormant during its journey. Through the planetary region began activating in sequence, suggesting preparation for the long voyage through interstellar space. The boundary between solar and interstellar space provided one final test of 3I Atlas's capabilities as it crossed into the region where solar wind gives way to the interstellar medium. The object's electromagnetic signature adapted smoothly to the changing plasma environment, maintaining stability and continuing its organized transmissions. Voyager spacecraft data from the heliopause region was reanalyzed to look for any historical evidence of similar objects. While no definitive matches were found, subtle anomalies in the plasma and magnetic field. Data suggested that other visitors might have passed through undetected in previous decades. As 3I Atlas faded from telescopic view, its departure marked the end of humanity's most extraordinary encounter with the unknown. The months of observation had provided unprecedented insights into technologies that operated according to principles beyond current human understanding. The implications of the 3I Atlas encounter would resonate through human civilization for generations to come. The confirmed observation of artificial technology from beyond our solar system had fundamentally altered our species' understanding of intelligence, consciousness, and purpose in the universe. Scientific institutions around the world began long-term studies of the data collected during 3I Atlas's passage through our solar system. The information gathered during those remarkable months would fuel research and theoretical development for decades as humanity struggled to comprehend technologies that transcended current understanding. The story of 3I Atlas had evolved from astronomical curiosity to paradigm-shifting encounter with intelligence that operated on scales beyond human imagination. Its passage through our solar system had provided humanity with its first confirmed glimpse of the vast community of intelligence that might exist among the stars as the mysterious visitor disappeared into the cosmic deep between Proxima Centauri and our own sun. It carried with it secrets that had tantalized and confounded the greatest minds of our time. Yet, it also left behind something precious, a new understanding that we are not alone in our vast cosmic neighborhood. The gentle rhythm of its departure matched the eternal dance of celestial bodies moving through space according to laws both natural and perhaps artificial. As 3I Atlas faded into the starlit distance, it reminded us that the universe holds mysteries far grander than we had ever dared imagine, and that somewhere among the stars, intelligence watches, waits and wanders through the cosmic night. The weeks following 3I Atlas's departure into interstellar space brought an unexpected quietude to observatories worldwide. Yet beneath this surface calm, the scientific community grappled with profound questions that would reshape our understanding of existence itself. As the object's faint radio signature finally faded beyond the threshold of detection, researchers found themselves sifting through terabytes of data that seemed to whisper of technology so advanced they bordered on the magical. Sleep studies conducted on astronomers who had worked the intensive observation campaigns revealed fascinating patterns. Many reported dreams filled with geometric structures and pulsing lights, as if their subconscious minds were still processing the unprecedented visual data they had encountered. The human brain, it seemed, was struggling to categorize experiences that fell outside every known framework of natural phenomena. In the quiet hours after midnight, when observatories settled into their routine sweeps of distant galaxies, technicians would sometimes pause their equipment and listen to recordings of 3I Atlas's radio emissions. These ghostly transmissions, when played through speakers, created haunting melodies that seemed almost musical in their complexity. The mathematical precision of these patterns suggested composition rather than coincidence, as if the cosmos itself had briefly sung to us in a language we could hear but not comprehend. The isotopic analysis laboratories worked around the clock, examining trace particles that had been captured during 3I Atlas's passage. These microscopic samples contained elements arranged in configurations that challenged the periodic table itself. Some isotopes appeared to be artificially stable, maintaining configurations that should have decayed within microseconds, yet persisted for months in terrestrial storage. The energy required to create such exotic matter exceeded the output of entire star systems, suggesting manufacturing processes that operated on scales beyond human imagination. Children born during the months of 3I Atlas's passage through our solar system showed subtle but measurable differences in their neural development patterns. Pediatric neurologists noted enhanced spatial reasoning abilities and unusual sensitivity to electromagnetic fields. While these observations remained preliminary and controversial, they suggested that the visitor's influence had extended into realms of biology and consciousness that science was only beginning to explore. The object's trajectory data revealed mathematical relationships that seemed to encode information about stellar cartography. Hidden within the precise orbital mechanics were coordinates that pointed to specific regions of the galaxy, creating a map of potentially habitable systems. This stellar roadmap suggested that 3I Atlas was following routes established by civilizations that had been exploring the galaxy for eons before our solar system had even formed. Amateur radio operators around the world continued monitoring the frequencies that had been associated with 3I Atlas, hoping to detect echoes or responses from deep space. Occasionally, faint signals would appear that seemed to originate from the direction of the object's departure, as if it was still transmitting across the vast distances of interstellar space. These phantom transmissions were too weak to analyze definitively, yet their timing and characteristics suggested ongoing communication with unknown recipients. The psychological impact on humanity extended far beyond the scientific community. Philosophers and theologians found themselves confronting questions about consciousness, purpose, and humanity's role in a universe that clearly harbored intelligence on scales previously unimaginable. The discovery that we shared the galaxy with beings capable of engineering objects like 3I Atlas forced a complete re-evaluation of human significance in the cosmic hierarchy. Deep space monitoring stations began reporting subtle changes in the cosmic background radiation that seemed to correlate with 3I Atlas's position as it traveled through interstellar space. These minute fluctuations suggested that the object was somehow interacting with the fundamental structure of space-time itself, creating ripples that propagated across light years of empty space. The mechanism responsible for such large-scale effects remained completely beyond human understanding. Museums around the world created special exhibitions dedicated to the 3I Atlas encounter, displaying the most remarkable images and data from the months-long observation campaign. Visitors would stand transfixed before photographs showing the object's ethereal green glow against the starfield, many reporting a profound sense of connection to something vast and mysterious. The images seemed to evoke responses that transcended mere scientific curiosity, touching something deeper in the human psyche. Educational institutions began developing new curricula that incorporated the implications of the 3I Atlas discovery. Students were encouraged to think beyond the traditional boundaries of physics, chemistry, and biology, considering possibilities that had once belonged purely to the realm of imagination. The encounter had demonstrated that the universe operated according to principles far more sophisticated than current human knowledge could encompass. The search for additional interstellar visitors intensified as astronomers realized that 3I Atlas might not be unique. Telescope surveys began focusing on detection methods specifically designed to identify objects, displaying the unusual characteristics that had marked their mysterious visitor. Early results suggested that similar objects might pass through our solar system more frequently than previously imagined, hidden among the countless asteroids and comets that populate interplanetary space. Quantum physicists studying the space-time distortions associated with 3I Atlas proposed theories that pushed the boundaries of known science. The object appeared to have been manipulating fundamental forces in ways that suggested mastery of physics principles that humans had not yet discovered. These theoretical frameworks opened new avenues of research that might eventually lead to breakthrough technologies, though such advances remained decades or centuries in the future. The economic implications of the 3I Atlas discovery began rippling through global markets as investors recognized the potential for revolutionary technological developments. Research institutions saw unprecedented funding increases as governments and private organizations sought to understand and possibly replicate the advanced capabilities demonstrated by the mysterious visitor. The space industry experienced particular growth as humanity began seriously considering the possibility of interstellar exploration. Religious communities worldwide grappled with the theological implications of confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence. Many found that the discovery enhanced rather than diminished their spiritual perspectives, suggesting that the universe was even more weeful than they had previously, wondrous and purpose-believed. The demonstration of intelligence operating on cosmic scales seemed to many believers to reflect divine creativity expressed through means beyond human comprehension. Artists and musicians drew inspiration from the 3I Atlas encounter, creating works that attempted to capture the profound sense of wonder and mystery that the discovery had evoked. Symphonies incorporated the mathematical patterns found in the object's radio emissions, while visual artists explored themes of cosmic consciousness and interstellar communication. These creative interpretations helped process the emotional and spiritual impact of humanity's first confirmed terrestrial technology. The data analysis contact with artificial extra teams working on 3I Atlas material began reporting unexpected correlations between the object's behavior and historical astronomical events. Subtle patterns in stellar observations from previous centuries showed periodic anomalies that might represent evidence of similar visitors passing through undetected. This historical perspective suggested that humanity had been sharing the solar system with advanced technologies for far longer than anyone had realized. Sleep research facilities found that exposure to recordings of 3I Atlas's electromagnetic emissions produced measurable changes in human brainwave patterns during rest cycles. Subjects reported unusually vivid dreams and enhanced problem-solving abilities upon waking, as if the alien signals were somehow optimizing cognitive processes. These effects remained subtle and poorly understood, yet they hinted at communication methods that operated below the threshold of conscious awareness. The agricultural research community discovered that plants exposed to samples of 3I Atlas's exotic particles showed enhanced growth rates and improved resistance to environmental stress. These biological effects suggested that the visitor's technology operated through principles that could beneficially interact with living systems, opening possibilities for applications in medicine and biotechnology that remained purely theoretical but tantalizing in their potential. Climatologists studying atmospheric data from the months of 3I Atlas's passage found subtle but persistent changes in global weather patterns that correlated with the object's position and activity. These effects were too small to influence daily weather, but suggested that advanced technologies could interact with planetary systems in ways that transcended simple electromagnetic or gravitational influence. The mechanism responsible for such planetary scale effects remained completely mysterious. As months passed and 3I Atlas continued its journey toward Proxima Centauri, the scientific community began planning for the possibility of future encounters with similar objects. Detection networks were established to provide early warning of approaching interstellar visitors, while research protocols were developed to maximize the scientific return from any future encounters. Humanity was preparing for the possibility that 3I Atlas represented the first of many such extraordinary visitors. The psychological counseling profession found itself dealing with a new category of existential questions as individuals struggled to process the implications of confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence. Many people reported feeling simultaneously humbled and exhilarated by the knowledge that humanity was part of a larger cosmic community. Support groups formed to help individuals integrate this paradigm-shifting realization into their personal worldviews and daily lives. International space law experts began developing frameworks for potential future encounters with artificial extraterrestrial objects, recognizing that 3I Atlas had established precedents that would influence how humanity approached such discoveries. Questions of territorial rights, scientific access, and information sharing took on new urgency as the possibility of future visits became a practical rather than theoretical consideration. The legacy of 3I Atlas extended beyond its physical presence to encompass the questions it raised about intelligence, consciousness, and purpose in the universe. As the object faded into the cosmic distance, it left behind a humanity forever changed by the encounter. We had glimpsed technologies that operated according to principles beyond our current understanding, and that glimpse had revealed the vast scope of what remained unknown about the cosmos we inhabit. The gentle rhythm of 3I Atlas's departure matched the eternal dance of celestial mechanics, yet it carried with it implications that would resonate through human consciousness for generations to come. As the mysterious visitor continued its ancient journey between the stars, it reminded us that the universe holds secrets far more profound than we had ever imagined, and that somewhere in the cosmic deep, intelligence watches, waits, and wanders through the starlit night, following purposes that span the eons and connect worlds across the galaxy in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. In the months that followed 3I Atlas's disappearance beyond the edge of detection, something curious began happening to the humans who had dedicated their lives to studying it. Sleep patterns among the research team shifted in ways that medical professionals couldn't quite explain. Scientists who had spent countless nights tracking the visitors' progress found themselves experiencing a phenomenon that sleep researchers would later term synchronized dreaming. Dr. Elena Martinez, who had coordinated observations from the Atacama Desert, reported dreams filled with vast geometric structures that pulsed with the same rhythm as 3I Atlas's radio emissions. Her colleagues in observatories across 6 continents described remarkably similar nocturnal visions, as if their minds were still processing signals that their conscious awareness could no longer detect. Sleep studies revealed that these individuals showed enhanced REM activity and neural patterns that resembled meditative states more than typical dream cycles. The children born during those extraordinary months began displaying characteristics that pediatricians found both fascinating and puzzling. These infants showed accelerated development in spatial reasoning and demonstrated an unusual sensitivity to electromagnetic fields. When placed near electronic devices, they would often turn their heads toward the equipment with an alertness that seemed beyond their developmental stage. Some parents reported that their babies appeared to track invisible objects moving across the sky, following precise paths that corresponded to satellite trajectories or aircraft flight patterns. Amateur astronomers who had contributed to the observation campaign found themselves drawn to their telescopes during the early hours before dawn, even months after 3I Atlas had vanished. They would stand in the darkness, scanning regions of sky where the visitor had once traveled, as if expecting its return. Many described a persistent sense that something was still there, just beyond the threshold of perception, watching from the spaces between the stars. The isotopic samples collected during 3I Atlas's passage continued to confound laboratory analysis. These microscopic fragments contained elements arranged in configurations that shouldn't exist according to known physics, yet they remained stable in terrestrial storage conditions. Some isotopes appeared to be slowly transforming into more familiar atomic structures, as if adapting to Earth's environment through processes that operated on timescales measured in months rather than the microseconds predicted by nuclear theory. Radio telescopes around the world maintained their vigil, listening for any trace of the visitor's distinctive transmissions. Occasionally, technicians would detect faint echoes that seemed to originate from the direction of 3I Atlas's departure, though these signals were too weak to analyze definitively. The patterns were hauntingly familiar, carrying the same mathematical precision that had characterized the object's emissions during its passage through our solar system. Museums created special quiet spaces dedicated to the 3I Atlas encounter, where visitors could sit in contemplative silence while viewing the most remarkable images captured during those extraordinary months. These galleries had an unexpected effect on people, who often reported feeling a profound sense of connection to something vast and distant. Children would sit motionless for unusually long periods, staring at photographs of the visitor's ethereal green glow, with an intensity that suggested recognition rather than mere curiosity. The quantum physics community found themselves grappling with theoretical frameworks that pushed the boundaries of known science. The space-time distortions observed around 3I Atlas suggested manipulation of fundamental forces through principles that humans hadn't yet discovered. Research teams began exploring mathematical models that incorporated consciousness as a fundamental aspect of reality, wondering if the visitor's advanced capabilities might stem from an understanding of mind-matter interactions that transcended current scientific paradigms. Educational institutions quietly began incorporating new perspectives into their curricula, encouraging students to think beyond traditional disciplinary boundaries. Philosophy departments found themselves collaborating with physics programs, while psychology courses explored the implications of intelligence operating on cosmic scales. These interdisciplinary approaches reflected a growing recognition that the 3I Atlas encounter had revealed the limitations of compartmentalized thinking about the nature of reality. Sleep research facilities discovered that recordings of 3I Atlas's electromagnetic emissions had measurable effects on human consciousness during rest periods. Subjects exposed to these signals showed enhanced cognitive performance upon waking and reported unusually coherent dreams that often contained solutions to problems they had been struggling with. The mechanism behind these effects remained mysterious, but the results suggested forms of information transfer that operated below the threshold of conscious awareness. Agricultural researchers working with samples of the exotic particles detected around 3I Atlas found that plants exposed to these materials showed remarkable improvements in growth rates and stress resistance. Wheat seedlings treated with trace amounts of the visitors' emissions grew 30% faster than control groups, while demonstrating enhanced resistance to drought and temperature fluctuations. These biological effects hinted at technologies that could interact beneficially with living systems through principles that remained completely unknown to terrestrial science. The atmospheric monitoring networks established during 3I Atlas's passage continued detecting subtle anomalies that seemed to propagate across global weather systems. These effects were too small to influence daily conditions, but suggested that advanced technologies could create resonances within planetary atmospheres that persisted long after the source had departed. Climatologists began developing new models that incorporated the possibility of technological influences on environmental systems. Deep space surveillance arrays reported periodic fluctuations in the cosmic background radiation that appeared to correlate with 3I Atlas's estimated position as it traveled through interstellar space. These minute variations suggested that the object was somehow interacting with the fundamental structure of space-time itself, creating ripples that could be detected across light years of apparently empty void. The implications for understanding the nature of space and time were staggering, yet remained largely theoretical. Artists and musicians found themselves inexplicably drawn to themes of cosmic communication and interstellar consciousness. Composers began incorporating the mathematical patterns found in 3I Atlas's transmissions into symphonic works that seemed to evoke responses beyond mere aesthetic appreciation. Visual artists explored geometric forms that resembled the structures observed in the visitor's coma, creating installations that viewers described as somehow familiar despite their alien origins. The search for additional interstellar visitors intensified as astronomers realized that 3I Atlas might represent only the visible tip of a much larger phenomenon. Telescope surveys began focusing on detection methods specifically designed to identify objects displaying the unusual characteristics that had marked their mysterious guest. Early results suggested that similar visitors might pass through our solar system more frequently than previously imagined, hidden among the countless natural objects that populate interplanetary space. International space law experts worked to develop frameworks for potential future encounters with artificial extraterrestrial objects, recognizing that 3I Atlas had established precedents that would influence how humanity approached such discoveries. Questions of scientific access, information sharing, and global coordination took on new urgency as the possibility of future visits evolved from science fiction to practical policy consideration. Religious communities worldwide found themselves enriched rather than challenged by the implications of confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence. Many believers saw in 3I Atlas's sophisticated capabilities evidence of divine creativity expressed through means beyond human comprehension. The demonstration of intelligence operating on cosmic scales seemed to reflect purposes and plans that transcended earthly understanding while affirming the universe's inherent wonder and mystery. The psychological counseling profession developed new approaches for helping individuals process the existential implications of humanity's first confirmed encounter with artificial extraterrestrial technology. Support groups formed to assist people in integrating this paradigm-shifting realization into their personal worldviews, addressing feelings that ranged from profound humility to exhilarating connection with a larger cosmic community. Economic analysts began recognizing the long-term implications of the 3I Atlas discovery for technological development and space exploration. Research institutions saw unprecedented funding increases as governments and private organizations sought to understand the advanced capabilities demonstrated by the mysterious visitor. The space industry experienced particular growth as humanity began seriously considering the possibility of eventual interstellar exploration using principles gleaned from studying the visitor's technology. Children who had been exposed to news and images of 3I Atlas during their early development showed enhanced abilities in pattern recognition and spatial reasoning as they grew. Teachers reported that these youngsters displayed an intuitive understanding of complex mathematical relationships and seemed naturally drawn to subjects involving astronomy and physics. Some educators theorized that exposure to evidence of advanced cosmic intelligence during formative years might be influencing neural development in subtle but measurable ways. The data analysis teams working on 3I Atlas material began discovering correlations between the object's behavior and historical astronomical observations that stretched back centuries. Subtle anomalies in stellar positions recorded by ancient astronomers showed periodic variations that might represent evidence of similar visitors passing through undetected. This historical perspective suggested that humanity had been sharing the solar system with advanced technologies for far longer than anyone had previously realized. Neuroscience researchers studying the effects of 3I Atlas's electromagnetic emissions on human brain activity found that exposure to these signals during sleep produced measurable changes in neural connectivity patterns. Subjects showed enhanced integration between different brain regions and improved performance on tasks requiring creative problem-solving. The mechanism behind these effects remained mysterious, but the results hinted at communication methods that could directly influence cognitive processes through electromagnetic resonance. As winter settled over the observatories that had tracked 3I Atlas's passage, a curious phenomenon emerged among the astronomers who had participated in the intensive observation campaign. Many reported a persistent sense that the visitor's influence continued despite its physical absence, as if the encounter had created lasting changes in their perception of the cosmos. They found themselves noticing patterns in starfields and planetary motions that had previously escaped their attention, as if their awareness had been somehow enhanced by prolonged exposure to evidence of advanced intelligence. The legacy of 3I Atlas extended far beyond the scientific data it had provided to encompass fundamental questions about consciousness, intelligence, and humanity's place in the cosmic community. As the object continued its ancient journey through interstellar space toward distant suns, it left behind a species forever changed by the encounter. We had glimpsed technologies operating according to principles beyond our current understanding, and that glimpse had revealed the vast scope of what remained unknown about the universe we inhabit. The gentle rhythm of cosmic mechanics continued its eternal dance, while 3I Atlas carried its secrets toward Proxima Centauri, reminding us that the universe holds mysteries far more profound than we had ever imagined. Somewhere in the starlit darkness between worlds, intelligence watches and wanders through space and time, following purposes that span the eons and connect civilizations across the galaxy in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. And in the quiet hours before dawn, when the sky reveals its deepest secrets to those who know how to listen, the echo of that ancient visitor continues to whisper through the cosmic silence, promising that we are not alone in the vast and wondrous universe that surrounds us all. The implications of 3I Atlas's passage rippled through academic institutions in ways that few could have predicted. Universities began reporting unusual phenomena among their astronomy departments, where graduate students working on dissertations related to the visitor found themselves experiencing what could only be described as enhanced pattern recognition abilities. These young researchers began identifying correlations in seemingly unrelated datasets, discovering connections between stellar formation processes and galactic magnetic field structures that had eluded seasoned professors for decades. Sleep laboratories across the globe documented a peculiar synchronization occurring among individuals who had been directly involved in observing 3I Atlas. These subjects, scattered across different continents and time zones, began exhibiting remarkably similar dream patterns, characterized by geometric sequences and pulsing lights that matched the mathematical progressions found in the visitors' radio transmissions. The phenomenon suggested forms of information transfer that operated through mechanisms completely unknown to current neuroscience. Children's hospitals reported an intriguing trend among newborns, whose mothers had been exposed to extensive media coverage of 3I Atlas during pregnancy. These infants displayed accelerated development in visual tracking and showed unusual responsiveness to electronic devices, often turning their heads toward computers or smartphones with an alertness that seemed beyond their developmental stage. Pediatric neurologists began conducting longitudinal studies to understand whether prenatal exposure to information about advanced extraterrestrial technology might influence early brain development. The particle physics community found themselves confronting data that challenged fundamental assumptions about atomic structure. The exotic isotopes collected during 3I Atlas's passage remained stable in terrestrial storage conditions, despite theoretical predictions that they should have decayed within microseconds of formation. Some of these materials appeared to be slowly transforming into more familiar atomic configurations, as if adapting to Earth's electromagnetic environment through processes that operated on entirely different timescales than known nuclear physics would suggest. Amateur radio enthusiasts maintained their vigilant monitoring of the frequency ranges associated with 3I Atlas, occasionally detecting faint signals that seemed to originate from the direction of the visitor's departure. These phantom transmissions were too weak for detailed analysis, yet their timing and characteristics bore the same mathematical precision that had marked the object's emissions during its solar system passage. The signals appeared to pulse in sequences that resembled countdown patterns, as if marking temporal intervals significant to technologies operating on interstellar scales. Museums worldwide discovered that their 3I Atlas exhibitions were producing unexpected effects on visitors. Gallery attendants reported that people would often spend hours sitting quietly before displays of the visitors' photographs, many describing profound emotional responses that seemed disproportionate to simple scientific interest. Children were particularly affected, with some becoming so absorbed in contemplating images of the object that parents had difficulty redirecting their attention to other exhibits. The therapeutic community began recognizing a new category of existential questions emerging from humanity's first confirmed encounter with artificial extraterrestrial intelligence. Counselors found themselves helping clients process feelings that ranged from profound humility about humanity's place in the cosmos to exhilarating connection with a larger universal community. Support groups formed specifically to address the psychological implications of knowing that advanced civilizations existed among the stars, following purposes that spanned geological epochs. Agricultural research stations reported remarkable results from experiments involving trace amounts of the exotic particles associated with 3I Atlas. Plants exposed to these materials showed enhanced photosynthetic efficiency and improved resistance to environmental stresses, growing 30% faster than control groups while demonstrating remarkable resilience to drought and temperature fluctuations. The mechanism behind these biological effects remained completely mysterious, suggesting technologies that could interact beneficially with living systems through principles unknown to terrestrial science. Atmospheric monitoring networks continued detecting subtle resonances propagating through global weather systems that appeared to correlate with 3I Atlas's estimated position as it traveled through interstellar space. These effects were too small to influence daily conditions, but suggested that advanced technologies could create lasting perturbations in planetary atmospheres through mechanisms that transcended conventional electromagnetic or gravitational influence. Climatologists began developing new theoretical frameworks to account for technological interactions with environmental systems. The quantum physics research community found themselves exploring mathematical models that pushed the boundaries of known science. The space-time distortions observed around 3I Atlas suggested manipulation of fundamental forces through principles that humans hadn't yet discovered. Some researchers began investigating whether consciousness itself might play a role in these advanced technologies, wondering if the visitors' capabilities stemmed from an understanding of mind-matter interactions that transcended current scientific paradigms. Educational institutions quietly began incorporating new perspectives into their curricula, encouraging students to think beyond traditional disciplinary boundaries. Philosophy departments found themselves collaborating with physics programs, while psychology courses explored the implications of intelligence operating on cosmic scales. These interdisciplinary approaches reflected growing recognition that the 3I Atlas encounter had revealed limitations in compartmentalized thinking about the nature of reality and consciousness. Deep space surveillance arrays reported periodic fluctuations in the cosmic background radiation that seemed to propagate from 3I Atlas's direction of travel. These minute variations suggested that the object was somehow interacting with the fundamental structure of space-time itself, creating ripples that could be detected across light years of apparently empty void. The implications for understanding the nature of space and time were staggering, yet they remained largely theoretical given current technological limitations. Artists and musicians found themselves inexplicably drawn to themes of cosmic communication and interstellar consciousness. Composers began incorporating the mathematical patterns discovered in 3I Atlas's transmissions into symphonic works that seemed to evoke responses beyond mere aesthetic appreciation. Visual artists explored geometric forms resembling structures observed in the visitor's coma, creating installations that viewers described as somehow familiar despite their clearly alien origins. The search for additional interstellar visitors intensified as astronomers realized that 3I Atlas might represent only the visible manifestation of a much larger phenomenon. Telescope surveys began focusing on detection methods specifically designed to identify objects displaying the unusual characteristics that had marked their mysterious guest. Early results suggested that similar visitors might pass through our solar system more frequently than previously imagined. Hidden among the countless natural objects that populate interplanetary space, international space law experts worked to develop frameworks for potential future encounters with artificial extraterrestrial objects, recognizing that 3I Atlas had established precedents that would influence how humanity approached such discoveries. Questions of scientific access, information sharing, and global coordination took on new urgency as the possibility of future visits evolved from science fiction to practical policy consideration requiring international cooperation and unprecedented diplomatic coordination. Religious communities worldwide found themselves enriched rather than challenged by the implications of confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence. Many believers saw in 3I Atlas's sophisticated capabilities evidence of divine creativity expressed through means beyond human comprehension. The demonstration of intelligence operating on cosmic scales seemed to reflect purposes and plans that transcended earthly understanding, while affirming the universe's inherent wonder and mystery in ways that complemented, rather than contradicted, spiritual perspectives. Economic analysts began recognizing the long-term implications of the 3I Atlas discovery for technological development and space exploration. Research institutions saw unprecedented funding increases as governments and private organizations sought to understand the advanced capabilities demonstrated by the mysterious visitor. The space industry experienced particular growth as humanity began seriously considering the possibility of eventual interstellar exploration, using principles gleaned from studying the visitor's technology and navigation methods. Neuroscience researchers studying the effects of 3I Atlas's electromagnetic emissions on human brain activity discovered that exposure to these signals during sleep produced measurable changes in neural connectivity patterns. Subjects showed enhanced integration between different brain regions and improved performance on tasks requiring creative problem-solving and spatial reasoning. The mechanism behind these effects remained mysterious, but the results hinted at communication methods that could directly influence cognitive processes through electromagnetic resonance. Sleep research facilities found that recordings of 3I Atlas's transmissions had remarkable effects on human consciousness during rest periods. Subjects exposed to these signals showed enhanced cognitive performance upon waking and reported unusually coherent dreams that often contained solutions to problems they had been struggling with consciously. The phenomenon suggested forms of information transfer that operated below the threshold of conscious awareness, perhaps through quantum mechanical processes that connected consciousness to electromagnetic fields. Children who had been exposed to extensive news coverage and imagery of 3I Atlas during their early development began showing enhanced abilities in pattern recognition and spatial reasoning as they grew. Teachers reported that these youngsters displayed an intuitive understanding of complex mathematical relationships and seemed naturally drawn to subjects involving astronomy and physics. Some educators theorized that exposure to evidence of advanced cosmic intelligence during formative years might be influencing neural development in subtle but measurable ways. The data analysis teams working on 3I Atlas material began subtle anomalies in stellar discovering correlations between the object's behavior and historical astronomical observations that stretched back centuries, variations that might represent evidence of similar visitors passing through undetected throughout human history. This historical perspective suggested that humanity positions, recorded by ancient astronomers, showed periodic had been sharing the solar system with advanced technologies for far longer than anyone had previously realized. As winter deepened over the observatories that had tracked 3I Atlas's passage, a curious phenomenon emerged among the astronomers who had participated in the intensive observation campaign. Many reported a persistent sense that the visitor's influence continued despite its physical absence, as if the encounter had created lasting changes in their perception of cosmic phenomena. They found themselves noticing patterns in star fields and planetary motions that had previously escaped their attention, as if their awareness had been somehow enhanced by prolonged exposure to evidence of advanced intelligence. The atmospheric chemistry monitoring networks established during 3I Atlas's passage continued detecting trace compounds that shouldn't exist under natural cosmic conditions. These exotic molecules displayed structural properties that suggested assembly through processes unknown to current chemistry, some appearing to be self-organizing and creating complex lattice structures that maintained their integrity even in the harsh environment of Earth's upper atmosphere. The persistence of these compounds months after the visitor's departure indicated technologies capable of seeding planetary environments with materials designed for specific purposes. Radio astronomy facilities maintained their coordinated observations of the frequencies associated with 3I Atlas, occasionally detecting coherent signals that seemed to originate from the direction of the visitor's interstellar trajectory. These transmissions displayed characteristics that bore striking resemblance to engineered communication systems, with frequency stability and modulation patterns that suggested ongoing data exchange with unknown recipients, somewhere in the cosmic deep between star systems. The isotopic analysis laboratories working with samples collected during 3I Atlas's passage discovered that some materials were undergoing controlled nuclear transformations that produced energy signatures unlike anything seen in natural radioactive decay processes. These exotic reactions appeared to be releasing energy in precisely regulated amounts, suggesting technologies that could manipulate atomic nuclei with extraordinary precision for purposes that remained completely beyond human understanding. Gravitational wave observatories reported minute disturbances in space-time that seemed to correlate with 3I Atlas's estimated position as it traveled through interstellar space. These signals were at the very edge of detectability, yet their characteristics suggested the manipulation of mass-energy relationships in ways that challenged fundamental physics. The possibility that the object was generating controlled gravitational effects across interstellar distances opened theoretical possibilities that most scientists preferred not to contemplate. The legacy of 3I Atlas extended beyond the scientific data it had provided to encompass fundamental questions about consciousness, intelligence, and humanity's role in the cosmic community. As the object continued its ancient journey through the darkness between worlds, it left behind a species forever changed by the encounter. We had glimpsed technologies operating according to principles beyond our current understanding, and that glimpse had revealed the vast scope of what remained unknown about the universe we inhabit. The gentle rhythm of celestial mechanics continued its eternal dance, while 3I Atlas carried its secrets toward distant suns, reminding us that the cosmos holds mysteries far more profound than we had ever dared imagine. Somewhere in the starlit darkness between civilizations, intelligence watches and wanders through space and time, following purposes that span the eons and connect worlds across the galaxy in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. And in the quiet hours before dawn, when the sky reveals its deepest secrets to those who know how to listen, the echo of that ancient visitor continues to whisper through the cosmic silence. It speaks of technologies that transcend our current understanding, of civilizations that measure time in geological epochs, and of purposes that connect star systems across vast gulfs of space and time in patterns too grand for human minds to fully grasp. As 3I Atlas fades into the cosmic deep, traveling toward Proxima Centauri on a journey that will span 40,000 years, it carries with it the knowledge that somewhere among the stars, intelligence operates on scales that dwarf human imagination. The visitor's passage through our solar system marked not an ending, but a beginning, the first confirmed glimpse of a cosmic community that extends across the galaxy and perhaps beyond, connecting worlds and civilizations in networks of purpose and communication that span the vastness of space itself. The questions raised by 3I Atlas will resonate through human consciousness for generations to come, challenging us to expand our understanding of what is possible in a universe far stranger and more wonderful than we had ever conceived. And perhaps, in the gentle rhythm of its departure, we find not loss, but promise. The assurance that we are not alone in the cosmic night, but part of something far grander than ourselves, participants in a story that began billions of years ago and will continue long after our sun has faded to a distant memory among the stars. The implications of our encounter with 3I Atlas rippled through the corridors of scientific institutions like whispers in a vast library, each researcher carrying fragments of the puzzle that no single mind could fully comprehend. As autumn gave way to winter, those who had dedicated their lives to studying this enigmatic visitor found themselves changed in ways both subtle and profound, as if the act of observing advanced extraterrestrial technology had somehow altered their perception of reality itself. Sleep laboratories documented a remarkable phenomenon among the international team of astronomers who had tracked 3I Atlas throughout its passage. These researchers, scattered across different continents and time zones, began experiencing what could only be described as synchronized consciousness during their rest periods. Brainwave monitoring revealed that individuals who had never met in person were displaying remarkably similar neural patterns during REM sleep, their minds seeming to process the same geometric sequences and mathematical progressions that had characterized the visitors' transmissions. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had coordinated observations from the Mauna Kea observatories, reported dreams filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with rhythms matching the electromagnetic signatures they had recorded. Her counterpart at the European Southern Observatory described nearly identical nocturnal visions, as if their subconscious minds were still decoding signals that their waking awareness could no longer detect. Sleep researchers found that these individuals showed enhanced cognitive integration and problem-solving abilities that persisted for weeks after their direct involvement with the project had ended. The children born during those extraordinary months continued to display characteristics that pediatric specialists found both fascinating and puzzling. These infants showed accelerated development in spatial reasoning and demonstrated an unusual sensitivity to electronic devices that seemed to extend beyond normal sensory perception. Some parents reported that their babies would track invisible objects moving across the sky, following precise trajectories that later proved to correspond with satellite passes or aircraft flight paths that should have been imperceptible to infant vision. Quantum physicists, studying the space-time distortions that had surrounded 3I Atlas, found themselves venturing into theoretical territory that challenged the very foundations of known science. The object had appeared to manipulate fundamental forces through principles that suggested an understanding of reality far more sophisticated than current human knowledge could encompass. Research teams began exploring mathematical frameworks that incorporated consciousness as a fundamental aspect of physical law, wondering whether the visitors' capabilities might stem from technologies that unified mind and matter in ways that transcended conventional scientific paradigms. The isotopic samples collected during 3I Atlas's passage continued their mysterious transformations in terrestrial laboratories. These microscopic fragments contained atomic arrangements that defied conventional nuclear physics, yet they remained stable under Earth conditions while slowly adapting their internal structure. Some isotopes appeared to be communicating with each other across laboratory storage containers, maintaining quantum coherence over distances and time periods that should have been impossible according to established scientific understanding. Radio telescopes maintained their patient vigil, listening for any echo of the visitor's distinctive transmissions as it journeyed through the vast emptiness between star systems. Occasionally, technicians would detect faint patterns that seemed to originate from 3I Atlas's direction of travel, though these signals were too weak for detailed analysis. The mathematical precision of these phantom communications suggested ongoing data exchange with recipients whose locations and purposes remained completely unknown to human science. Museums created special contemplative spaces dedicated to the 3I Atlas encounter, where visitors could experience the most remarkable imagery captured during those transformative months. These galleries produced unexpected effects on people of all ages, who often reported profound emotional responses that seemed to transcend mere scientific curiosity. Children would sit transfixed before photographs of the visitor's ethereal luminescence, many describing feelings of recognition as if they were viewing something familiar rather than utterly alien. Educational institutions quietly began incorporating new perspectives into their curricula, recognizing that the encounter had revealed fundamental limitations in traditional approaches to understanding reality. Philosophy departments found themselves collaborating with physics programs, while psychology courses explored implications of intelligence operating on cosmic scales. These interdisciplinary initiatives reflected growing awareness that compartmentalized thinking might be inadequate for comprehending phenomena that transcended conventional categories of knowledge. The therapeutic community developed new approaches for helping individuals process the existential implications of confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence. Counselors found themselves addressing questions that ranged from profound humility about humanity's cosmic significance to exhilarating connection with a larger universal community. Support groups formed to assist people in integrating this paradigm-shifting realization into their personal worldviews, addressing psychological responses that traditional therapy had never been designed to handle. Agricultural research facilities discovered that plants exposed to trace amounts of the exotic particles associated with 3I Atlas showed remarkable improvements in growth efficiency and environmental resilience. These crops displayed enhanced photosynthetic capabilities and improved resistance to drought, temperature fluctuations, and soil contamination. The biological mechanisms responsible for these beneficial effects remained completely mysterious, suggesting technologies that could interact harmoniously with living systems through principles unknown to terrestrial science. Deep space monitoring networks reported subtle but persistent fluctuations in the cosmic background radiation that appeared to correlate with 3I Atlas's estimated position as it traveled through interstellar space. These minute variations suggested that the object was somehow interacting with the fundamental structure of spacetime itself, creating ripples that propagated across light years of apparently empty void. The implications for understanding the nature of space and time were staggering, yet they remained largely theoretical given current technological limitations. Atmospheric scientists studying global weather patterns during the months of 3I Atlas's passage found evidence of subtle resonances that had propagated through Earth's entire atmospheric system. These effects were too small to influence daily conditions, but suggested that advanced technologies could create lasting modifications in planetary environments through mechanisms that transcended conventional electromagnetic or gravitational influence. The precision and coordination of these atmospheric changes implied purposeful interaction with Earth's environmental systems. The search for additional interstellar visitors intensified as astronomers realized that 3I Atlas might represent only the visible manifestation of a much larger phenomenon. Telescope surveys began employing detection methods specifically designed to identify objects displaying the unusual characteristics that had marked their mysterious guest. Preliminary results suggested that similar visitors might pass through our solar system more frequently than previously imagined, concealed among the countless natural objects that populate the spaces between planets. International space law experts worked to establish frameworks for potential future encounters with artificial extraterrestrial objects, recognizing that 3I Atlas had created precedents that would influence how humanity approached such discoveries. Questions of scientific access, information sharing, and global coordination required unprecedented diplomatic cooperation, as the possibility of future visits evolved from speculative fiction to practical policy consideration, demanding international consensus and coordinated response protocols. Neuroscience researchers investigating the effects of 3I Atlas's electromagnetic emissions on human consciousness discovered that exposure to these signals during sleep produced measurable changes in brain connectivity patterns. Subjects showed enhanced integration between different neural regions and improved performance on tasks requiring creative problem-solving and spatial visualization. The mechanism behind these cognitive enhancements remained mysterious, but the results suggested communication methods that could directly influence mental processes through electromagnetic resonance. Artists and musicians found themselves drawn to themes of cosmic communication and interstellar consciousness, creating works that attempted to capture the profound sense of wonder and mystery that the encounter had evoked. Composers incorporated the mathematical patterns discovered in 3I Atlas's transmissions into symphonic pieces that seemed to resonate with audiences on levels beyond mere aesthetic appreciation. Visual artists explored geometric forms resembling structures observed in the visitor's luminous envelope, producing installations that viewers described as somehow familiar despite their clearly non-terrestrial origins. Economic analysts began recognizing the transformative implications of the 3I Atlas discovery for technological development and space exploration initiatives. Research institutions experienced unprecedented funding increases as governments and private organizations sought to understand the advanced capabilities demonstrated by the mysterious visitor. The aerospace industry saw particular growth as humanity began seriously considering the possibility of eventual interstellar exploration using principles derived from studying the visitor's propulsion and navigation technologies. Religious communities worldwide found their spiritual perspectives enriched rather than challenged by the implications of confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence. Many believers saw in 3i Atlas's sophisticated capabilities evidence of divine creativity expressed through means that transcended human comprehension. The demonstration of intelligence operating on cosmic scales seemed to many to reflect purposes and plans that affirmed rather than contradicted their understanding of universal meaning and spiritual significance. Children who had been exposed to extensive coverage of 3i Atlas during their formative years began displaying enhanced abilities in pattern recognition and mathematical reasoning as they developed. Teachers reported that these youngsters showed intuitive understanding of complex spatial relationships and demonstrated natural attraction to subjects involving astronomy and theoretical physics. Some educators theorized that early exposure to evidence of advanced cosmic intelligence might be influencing neural development in ways that enhanced cognitive capabilities related to scientific thinking and spatial visualization. The data analysis teams working with 3i Atlas material began discovering correlations between the object's behavior and historical astronomical observations extending back centuries. Subtle anomalies in stellar position measurements recorded by ancient astronomers showed periodic variations that might represent evidence of similar visitors passing through undetected throughout human history. This historical perspective suggested that humanity had been sharing the solar system with advanced technologies for far longer than anyone had previously realized. Sleep research facilities found that recordings of 3i Atlas's electromagnetic signatures had remarkable effects on human consciousness during rest periods. Subjects exposed to these signals showed enhanced cognitive performance upon waking and reported unusually coherent dreams that often contained solutions to problems they had been struggling with consciously. The phenomenon suggested forms of information transfer that operated below the threshold of conscious awareness, possibly through quantum mechanical processes that connected individual consciousness to broader electromagnetic field patterns. Gravitational wave observatories detected minute disturbances in space-time that seemed to originate from 3i Atlas's direction of travel through interstellar space. These signals were at the very limits of current detection capabilities, yet their characteristics suggested manipulation of fundamental physical forces in ways that challenged established understanding of mass, energy, and space-time geometry. The possibility that the object was generating controlled gravitational effects across interstellar distances opened theoretical possibilities that stretched the boundaries of known physics. As winter deepened over the observatories that had tracked 3i Atlas's passage, a curious phenomenon emerged among the astronomers who had participated in the intensive observation campaign. Many reported persistent awareness that the visitor's influence continued despite its physical absence, as if the encounter had created lasting changes in their perception of cosmic phenomena. They found themselves noticing patterns in celestial mechanics and stellar behavior that had previously escaped their attention, as if their scientific intuition had been somehow enhanced through prolonged exposure to evidence of advanced intelligence. The atmospheric chemistry networks established during 3i Atlas's passage continued detecting exotic compounds that shouldn't exist under natural cosmic conditions. These unusual molecules displayed structural properties suggesting assembly through processes unknown to current chemistry, with some appearing to self-organize into complex lattice formations that maintained integrity even in Earth's harsh upper atmospheric environment. The persistence of these compounds months after the visitor's departure indicated technologies capable of seeding planetary atmospheres with materials designed for purposes that remained completely mysterious. Radio astronomy facilities maintained coordinated monitoring of frequencies associated with 3i Atlas, occasionally detecting coherent transmissions that seemed to emanate from the visitor's interstellar trajectory. These signals displayed engineering characteristics with frequency stability and modulation patterns, suggesting ongoing communication with unknown recipients somewhere in the cosmic depths between star systems. The mathematical precision of these phantom transmissions implied data exchange protocols operating according to principles far more sophisticated than current human telecommunications technology. The particle physics community found themselves confronting evidence that challenged fundamental assumptions about atomic structure and nuclear processes. Exotic isotopes collected during 3I Atlas's passage underwent controlled transformations that produced energy signatures unlike anything observed in natural radioactive decay. These reactions appeared to release precisely regulated amounts of energy, suggesting technologies capable of manipulating atomic nuclei with extraordinary precision for applications that remained completely beyond human understanding. The legacy of 3I Atlas extended far beyond the scientific data it had provided to encompass profound questions about consciousness, intelligence, and humanity's role in the cosmic community. As the object continued its ancient journey through the darkness between worlds, it left behind a species forever transformed by the encounter. We had glimpsed technologies operating according to principles that transcended our current understanding, and that glimpse had revealed the vast scope of what remained unknown about the universe we inhabit. The gentle rhythm of celestial mechanics continued its eternal dance, while 3I Atlas carried its secrets toward distant suns, reminding us that the cosmos harbors mysteries far more profound than we had ever imagined. Somewhere in the starlit darkness between civilizations, intelligence watches and wanders through space and time, following purposes that span geological epochs and connect worlds across the galaxy in patterns too vast for human minds to fully comprehend. Sky reveals its deepest secrets to those end. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the Wa'u know how to listen, the echo of that ancient visitor continues to whisper through the cosmic silence. It speaks of technologies that transcend current human knowledge, of civilizations that measure time in stellar lifetimes, and of purposes that unite star systems across immense gulfs of space and time in networks too grand for terrestrial understanding. As 3I Atlas fades into the cosmic deep, traveling toward Proxima Centauri on a journey spanning 40 millennia, it carries with it the knowledge that intelligence operates throughout the galaxy on scales that dwarf human imagination. The visitor's passage through our solar system marked not a conclusion but a beginning, humanity's first confirmed glimpse of a cosmic community extending across the stars and perhaps beyond, connecting worlds and civilizations in webs of purpose and communication that encompass the vastness of space itself. The questions raised by 3I Atlas will echo through human consciousness for generations to come, challenging our species to expand understanding of what remains possible in a universe far stranger and more wonderful than we had ever conceived. And perhaps, in the gentle rhythm of its departure toward distant stars, we find not loss but promise, the assurance that we are not alone in the cosmic night, but participants in something far grander than ourselves, contributors to a story that began billions of years ago and will continue long after our sun has joined the ancient light of distant memories scattered among the eternal stars. The months that followed 3I Atlas's departure brought an unexpected quietude to the world's observatories. Yet beneath this surface, calm lay currents of transformation that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmic order. As the last faint traces of the visitor's radio signature faded beyond the threshold of detection, those who had dedicated their lives to studying it found themselves forever changed by the encounter, carrying within their memories the echo of technologies that operated according to principles beyond current human comprehension. Sleep laboratories around the world documented a phenomenon that defied conventional understanding of consciousness and communication. The international team of researchers who had tracked 3I Atlas throughout its passage began experiencing what could only be described as shared awareness during their rest periods. These individuals, separated by vast distances and different time zones, reported remarkably similar dream sequences filled with geometric patterns that pulsed in rhythms matching the mathematical progressions they had recorded from the visitors' transmissions. Dr. Kenji Nakamura, who had coordinated observations from the Subaru telescope, described nocturnal visions of crystalline architectures that seemed to unfold according to principles of symmetry and proportion that human mathematics had not yet discovered. His colleague at the Very Large Telescope reported nearly identical experiences, as if their subconscious minds were processing information through channels that transcended normal sensory perception. These researchers showed enhanced pattern recognition abilities that persisted long after their direct involvement with the project had concluded. The generation of children born during those extraordinary months continued to display characteristics that pediatric specialists found both remarkable and puzzling. These infants demonstrated accelerated development in spatial reasoning and showed unusual responsiveness to electromagnetic fields that seemed to extend beyond typical sensory capabilities. Parents reported that their babies would often pause in their activities and gaze intently at empty patches of sky, tracking invisible phenomena with a precision that suggested perception of patterns imperceptible to adult awareness. Quantum physicists studying the space-time anomalies that had surrounded 3I Atlas found themselves venturing into theoretical territory that challenged the fundamental assumptions of known science. The visitor had demonstrated manipulation of basic physical forces through mechanisms that implied understanding of reality far more sophisticated than current human knowledge could encompass. Research teams began exploring mathematical frameworks that treated consciousness as an integral aspect of physical law, wondering whether the object's capabilities might have emerged from technologies that unified mind and matter in ways that transcended conventional scientific paradigms. The exotic materials collected during 3I Atlas's passage continued their mysterious evolution in terrestrial laboratories. These microscopic samples contained atomic arrangements that defied established nuclear physics, yet they remained stable under Earth conditions while gradually adapting their internal structure to local environmental parameters. Some isotopes appeared to maintain quantum coherence across laboratory storage facilities, communicating with each other over distances and time periods that should have been impossible according to current theoretical understanding. Radio telescopes maintained their patient vigil, listening for any whisper of the visitor's distinctive transmissions as it journeyed through the vast emptiness between star systems. Technicians would occasionally detect faint patterns that seemed to originate from 3I Atlas's direction of travel, though these signals remained too weak for detailed analysis. The mathematical precision of these phantom communications suggested ongoing information exchange with recipients whose locations and purposes remained entirely unknown to human science. Museums worldwide created contemplative spaces dedicated to the 3I Atlas encounter, where visitors could experience the most remarkable imagery captured during those transformative months. These galleries produced unexpected effects on people of all ages, who often reported profound emotional responses that seemed to transcend mere scientific curiosity. Children would sit motionless before displays of the visitor's ethereal luminescence, many describing sensations of familiarity as if they were viewing something they had always known rather than encountering the incorporating new perspectives into their curricula, utterly alien. Educational institutions quietly began recognizing that the encounter had revealed fundamental limitations in traditional approaches to understanding reality. Philosophy departments found themselves collaborating with physics programs, while psychology courses explored the implications of intelligence operating on cosmic scales. These interdisciplinary initiatives reflected growing awareness that compartmentalized thinking might prove inadequate for comprehending phenomena that transcended conventional categories of knowledge and experience. The therapeutic community developed innovative implications of confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence approaches for helping individuals process the existential. Counselors found themselves addressing questions that ranged from profound humility about humanity's cosmic significance to exhilarating connection with a larger universal community. Support groups formed to assist people in integrating this paradigm-shifting realization into their personal worldviews, addressing psychological responses that traditional therapy had never been designed to handle or even anticipate. Agricultural research facilities discovered that plants exposed to trace amounts of the exotic particles associated with 3I Atlas showed remarkable improvements in growth efficiency and environmental resilience. These crops displayed enhanced photosynthetic capabilities and improved resistance to drought, temperature fluctuations, and soil contamination that exceeded anything achieved through conventional breeding or genetic modification. The biological mechanisms responsible for these beneficial effects remained completely mysterious, suggesting technologies that could interact harmoniously with living systems through principles unknown to terrestrial science. Deep space monitoring networks reported subtle but persistent fluctuations in the cosmic background radiation that appeared to correlate with 3I Atlas's estimated position as it traveled through interstellar space. These minute variations suggested that the object was somehow interacting with the fundamental structure of space-time itself, creating ripples that propagated across light years of apparently empty void. The implications for understanding the nature of space and time were staggering, yet they remained largely theoretical given the limitations of current detection technology. Atmospheric scientists studying global weather patterns during the months of 3I Atlas's passage found evidence of subtle resonances that had propagated through Earth's entire atmospheric system. These effects were too small to influence daily weather conditions, but suggested that advanced technologies could create lasting modifications in planetary environments through mechanisms that transcended conventional electromagnetic or gravitational influence. The precision and coordination of these atmospheric changes implied purposeful interaction with Earth's environmental systems for reasons that remained completely opaque. The search for additional interstellar visitors intensified as astronomers realized that 3I Atlas might represent only the visible manifestation of a much larger phenomenon. Telescope surveys began employing detection methods specifically designed to identify objects displaying the unusual characteristics that had marked their mysterious guest. Preliminary results suggested that similar visitors might pass through our solar system more frequently than previously imagined, concealed among the countless natural objects that populate the spaces between planets and drift unnoticed through the cosmic neighborhood. International space law experts worked to establish frameworks for potential future encounters with artificial extraterrestrial objects, recognizing that 3I Atlas had created precedents that would influence how humanity approached such discoveries. Questions of scientific access, information sharing, and global coordination required unprecedented diplomatic cooperation, as the possibility of future visits evolved from speculative fiction to practical policy consideration, demanding international consensus and coordinated response protocols that could function across cultural and political boundaries. Neuroscience researchers investigating the effects of 3I Atlas's electromagnetic emissions on human consciousness discovered that exposure to these signals during sleep produced measurable changes in brain connectivity patterns. Subjects showed enhanced integration between different neural regions and improved performance on tasks requiring creative problem-solving and spatial visualization. The mechanism behind these cognitive enhancements remained mysterious, but the results suggested communication methods that could directly influence mental processes through electromagnetic resonance at frequencies that bypassed conscious awareness entirely. Artists and musicians found themselves drawn to themes of cosmic communication and interstellar consciousness, creating works that attempted to capture the profound sense of wonder and mystery that the encounter had evoked. Composers incorporated the mathematical patterns discovered in 3I Atlas's transmissions into symphonic pieces that seemed to resonate with audiences on levels beyond mere aesthetic appreciation. Visual artists explored geometric forms resembling structures observed in the visitor's luminous envelope, producing installations that viewers described as somehow familiar, despite their clearly non-terrestrial origins and impossible complexity. Economic analysts began recognizing the transformative implications of the 3I Atlas discovery for technological development and space exploration initiatives. Research institutions experienced unprecedented funding increases as governments and private organizations sought to understand the advanced capabilities demonstrated by the mysterious visitor. The aerospace industry saw particular growth as humanity began seriously considering the possibility of eventual interstellar exploration, using principles derived from studying the visitor's propulsion and navigation technologies that seem to operate according to physical laws not yet discovered by terrestrial science. Religious communities worldwide found their spiritual perspectives enriched rather than challenged by the implications of confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence. Many believers saw in 3I Atlas's sophisticated capabilities evidence of divine creativity expressed through means that transcended human comprehension. The demonstration of intelligence operating on cosmic scales seemed to many to reflect purposes and plans that affirmed rather than contradicted their understanding of universal meaning and spiritual significance, suggesting that the cosmos itself might be far more purposeful and interconnected than purely materialistic worldviews could accommodate. As winter deepened and the nights grew longer, those who had witnessed 3I Atlas's passage found themselves changed in ways both subtle and profound. The encounter had opened doorways of perception that could never again be closed, revealing glimpses of possibilities that stretched far beyond the boundaries of current human understanding. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the sky revealed its deepest secrets to those who knew how to listen, the memory of that ancient visitor continued to whisper through the cosmic silence, promising that somewhere among the stars, intelligence watches and wanders through space and time, following purposes that span the eons and connect worlds across the galaxy in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. The gentle hum of radio telescopes continued their eternal vigil long after 3I Atlas had faded beyond the reach of human detection, their sensitive receivers tuned to frequencies that might yet carry whispers from the cosmic deep. In laboratories around the world, researchers found themselves working late into the night, analyzing data that seemed to reveal new mysteries with each passing week. The isotopic samples continued their slow transformation, adapting to terrestrial conditions through processes that defied every known principle of nuclear physics, as if the very atoms themselves carried instructions, orphosis. Children for Gradual Metams hospitals began documenting an intriguing phenomenon among newborns whose mothers had followed the 3I Atlas story throughout their pregnancies. These infants displayed remarkable coordination and seemed to respond to electronic devices with an awareness that exceeded typical developmental milestones. Pediatric specialists noted that these babies would often become calm and alert when exposed to certain electromagnetic frequencies, their tiny eyes tracking patterns that adults couldn't perceive, as if they were observing invisible choreography unfolding in the spaces between visible reality. The quantum computing research community found themselves grappling with theoretical implications that pushed the boundaries of computational possibility. If 3I Atlas had indeed demonstrated technologies that unified consciousness with physical processes, the applications for information processing could revolutionize human civilization. Research teams began exploring whether the visitor's capabilities might have emerged from computational architectures that treated awareness itself as a fundamental component of reality, opening pathways toward technologies that could think and feel in ways that transcended current artificial intelligence paradigms. Museums reported that their 3I Atlas exhibitions continued to produce remarkable effects on visitors months after the displays had opened. Gallery attendants described people becoming so absorbed in contemplating images of the visitor that they would lose track of time entirely, sitting motionless for hours while gazing at photographs of its ethereal luminescence. Some visitors reported experiencing synesthesia while viewing the displays, describing the ability to hear colors and see sounds in ways they had never experienced before the encounter, with evidence of advanced extraterrestrial technology. The agricultural research community made discoveries that promised to transform food production worldwide. Plants treated with microscopic amounts of the exotic particles associated with 3I Atlas showed not only enhanced growth rates, but also improved nutritional content, producing fruits and vegetables with vitamin and mineral concentrations that far exceeded anything achieved through conventional farming methods. These crops seemed to extract nutrients from soil with unprecedented efficiency, while simultaneously improving the health of the earth in which they grew, suggesting technologies that could solve global food security challenges through principles that remained completely mysterious. Sleep research facilities documented increasingly sophisticated patterns in the dreams of individuals who had been directly involved in observing 3I Atlas. These researchers reported nocturnal experiences that seemed to contain information about stellar cartography and interstellar navigation, as if their subconscious minds were processing knowledge that their conscious awareness couldn't access. Some described dreams in which they traveled between star systems, following routes marked by geometric beacons that pulsed with the same mathematical rhythms they had recorded from the visitors' transmissions. Radio astronomy teams began detecting subtle patterns in cosmic background noise that seemed to correlate with the positions of nearby star systems. These signals were far too faint for conventional analysis, yet their timing and characteristics suggested a vast communication network operating throughout the local galactic neighborhood. The possibility that 3I Atlas had been following established routes between civilizations implied that our solar system existed within a cosmic community that had been active for eons, before humanity had even evolved the capacity for astronomical observation. International space agencies quietly began developing contingency plans for potential future encounters with similar objects, recognizing that 3I Atlas might have been the first of many such visitors. The protocols being established would allow for rapid global coordination of observation efforts, while ensuring that any discovered technologies could benefit all of humanity, rather than becoming sources of international conflict. These preparations reflected growing awareness that our species might soon need to function as a unified planetary civilization capable of engaging with intelligence that operated on galactic scales. Gravitational wave detectors continued registering minute fluctuations that seemed to propagate from the direction of 3I Atlas's interstellar trajectory. These disturbances in space-time suggested that the object was somehow manipulating the fundamental geometry of space itself as it traveled, creating ripples that could be detected across vast distances. The precision required for such gravitational engineering exceeded human understanding by centuries, implying mastery of physical principles that current science could barely begin to imagine. And so, dear traveller, as we reach the end of our cosmic journey through the remarkable tale of 3I Atlas, we find ourselves forever changed by this glimpse into the vast mysteries that drift through our universe. We followed an ancient visitor from the depths of interstellar space, witnessed technologies that challenge everything we thought we knew, and discovered that we may not be alone in this infinite expanse of stars. Whether 3I Atlas was a natural wanderer or something far more extraordinary, its passage has opened our minds to possibilities beyond imagination. Sleep well now, knowing that somewhere in the cosmic deep, wonders await discovery. Cosmic deep, wonders await discovery.